And now, around the world and around the corner, it's the David Bowers Awards, bringing the best in indie music to millions of listeners worldwide with your host, the David Bowers. We've got a fantastic lineup of guests, as well as our engineer extraordinaire, Nick the Geek, our entire crew here at the Asylum, and me. I'm John Bon Jovial. And now, here's the voice of indie music, the David Bowers.
Hello once again, everyone. Thank you for dropping by the David Bowers Awards. Welcome everyone around the world, and of course our listeners in Rochester, New York, who listen on WRFZ FM 106.3 in Rochester. And we are so glad to have you all with us. We've got a great show full of some great new music and a couple of little surprises along the way too. Our first guest, Mr. John Vento, is standing by, and we'll be getting to him and his music in just a couple of minutes. But first, I want to introduce you to Jessica Ann Newham. She's known by her stage name, Betty Who. She's an Australian singer-songwriter who independently released a debut single, Somebody Loves You, back in 2012, and her debut extended play, The Movement, in 2013. Her second studio album, The Valley, was released in 2017 and saw commercial success of her cover song, I Love You Always Forever, which hit top 10 in Australia and reached the top of the Billboard Dance Club Songs chart in the United States. And here she is with her newest, I Remember.
Warm nights, slow hands, you let me sleep in your arms with your heart in front of me. Sweet words, small clouds, you said to me you'd be loving me forever. We got lost in the light, now we're stumbling through the dark. And sometimes I wonder why we have to work this hard. But here we are. I remember nobody loves me like you do. I remember I don't want perfect, I want you. It's not the same, so you drove all night just to say you'd be loving me forever. We got lost in the light, now we're stumbling through the dark. And sometimes I wonder why we have to work this hard. But here we are. I remember nobody loves me like you do. Dancing under the stars, kissing you in the dark. I remember your love, oh, never giving you up, oh. Dancing under the stars, kissing you in the dark. I remember your love, oh, never giving you up, I remember nobody loves me like you do. I remember I don't want perfect, I want you. I want you. You know you're the only one.
Disco bad, dance music good. I love it. It's
Oh.
amazing what has happened. It's amazing what's happened to music. Everybody hated disco. Now they call it dance music, or in the case of the technological age, a lot of it is electronic or EDM, and they love it. But don't call it disco. And really, isn't it just an extension of what we back in the 70s called, or in the 80s called disco?
Well, of course it is. And to paraphrase Rick Dees from Kiss FM in Los Angeles, disco sucks.
I remember back in the same period, and I'm going to go name dropping again, but I'm back in the same period. I moved to the West Coast. I moved to California in the late 70s. And I remember talking with Claude Hall at Billboard magazine. He did a weekly column for Billboard, and he asked me what I thought about the future as far as disco was concerned, because you were already getting the rumblings of, being disenchanted with disco. And I told him, I said, as far as I'm concerned, what's going to happen is what happens to most new genres of music. They're big for a while, then they settle into their own little corner of the world and become their own little genre or their own thing. And that's basically what's happened. Disco has gone the way as far as a fad, and it's settled into its own little niche in music. And now today we call it dance music. And I kind of like it.
It's become a niche, is what it says. It's become a niche format.
Yeah.
Now, not all disco is terrible. I mean, there was some really great disco stuff that came out of the late 70s. Donna Summer did some wonderful stuff. And of course, you can't, if you're going to be talking about good disco music, which sometimes is hard to do, you got to talk about KC and the Sunshine Band. They had some monster hits, and they were good. They were. Now, a lot of people are going to disagree with me, but I couldn't stand the disco stuff that the Bee Gees did.
I really appreciated the Bee Gees' music. It was so well constructed and well rehearsed and well worked. I wasn't really a fan of what I considered overdone falsetto, but they did some great music. It was well produced, and with Casey and the Sunshine Band, I mean, that was just good time bubblegum rock and roll set to a dance beat.
It was great stuff. Great stuff. Yeah.
And you talk about great disco music. You got to talk Nile Rodgers and Chic.
Absolutely.
I mean, he's still going strong. They just released a new album here about a month or so ago, I guess it was. And and this young lady, Betty Who, may make a name for herself. She's already had a hit in Australia and on the American dance chart. So it's entirely possible that she's going to make her name in this country, in this music.
The thing that I like about the thing I like about Betty Who's song is the singing is understated, which I think is probably an asset for this particular piece of music. It's produced well. The instrumentation has been choreographed very nicely, and she's got a good voice. I don't think she's using auto-tune, and if she is, shame on her, but I can't detect it. And but I like the song. I mean, there's a lot of disco that I hate with a passion, but this isn't one of them.
No, I agree. Okay, now that we've done our American Bandstand thing here, do we have to pay royalties for mentioning American Bandstand on the show?
I don't think
it's a salute. This is
somehow. I don't think Dick Clark is going to object too much right now.
No, and it's not a commercial, folks. It's a salute. Okay,
that's right.
There's a difference there.
That's right.
We want to thank you all. We want to thank our friends in Rochester, including Mary Perry, who is she's an underwriter for disability in the Rochester area, and she is the one who supports us and makes the David Bowers Awards show possible on WRFZ FM 106.3 in Rochester, and we always want to take a moment to thank her and wish her the very best. Mary Perry, accredited disability representative in Rochester, New York, underwrites the David Bowers Awards on Rochester Free Radio. Thank you so much, Mary. And we're going to move right along because we have John Vento standing by already in the green room and apparently ready to go. So we're going to bring him in here and chat with him in in just a minute, right after we get to his first
This is
song.
indie recording artist Nikki Chris, and you're listening to The David Bowers on Blog Talk Radio.
Thank you so much, Nikki Chris, and she's going to be joining us in...
play my song today. What's up with that?
All right, Nikki, all right. She's going to be joining us next week, I believe, with some big surprises because we're going to get to preview her new album before it comes out. But that's next week. This week, we've got a gentleman you're going to love right here, right now. His name is John Vento, and this is called A Good Life Made.
Had 2 grown kids, a happy ex-wife, like an old cat, lived all 9 lives. Man paid the tolls. Meet his friends at the end of the day, throw a few back with the money he made. That's how he rolled. Those times we know, too much fun with so much love. Was a good life made. Back in the day when we would hide deep in the park on a moonless night, that's all we knew. Cold case of beer, a little smoke, roaring laugh to a stupid joke. We told the truth. Those times we know, too much fun but so much love. And the price he paid was a good life made. Up your glass and stand with me. Here's a toast to eternity. Swallow hard and look around. Might be heaven in this old town. When you fade away, all the kind light be able to say, good life made. Good life made. Good life made. Good life made.
I like that. I like that a lot. A Good Life Made. The gentleman's name is John Vento, and he's here to talk with us now. John, how you doing?
Good afternoon. I'm doing great. How are you?
Doing just fine, thanks. So glad you could be here with us today.